Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm truly excited to welcome so many of you to the launch of the new book, The Data Weaver. My name is Tom Pfister, and I'm today's host and the CMO of Data Migration International, as well as a proud SAP alumni. I'm thrilled to welcome the three panelists today to our virtual book launch. First and foremost, of course, Andreas, the author of the new book, The Data Weaver, as well as Stefan Knopf and Thomas Spandl, two senior executives of SAP SE. Today, Andreas, Stefan, and Thomas will take you on a journey through the digital world in times when economic conditions force companies to manage their bottom line, reinvent their business, and transform their enterprise to stay relevant and competitive. The Data Weaver is Andreas's third book. Congratulations, Andreas, to that achievement. For the business community, his primary intent is to encourage business leaders to think about the data as the new oil for the 21st century and how the chief data officer can win the data race. And now over to you for this insightful discussion. Thank you very much.
All right, Tom, thanks so much. So I use the Data Weaver as a title for the book because I think, it exemplifies more or less, what I wanted to say. Obviously, data goes always across the silos, everything. But I think it's also not very, dominant. So based on my experiences, nobody really cares about data much inside larger corporations. And this is why we have this talk today. So I want to really go into the conversation right away. So Thomas and Stefan, so data, I think it's the most undervalued asset of today's enterprise. Sometimes I even think it's the most neglected one by the C-suite. Would you agree?
Yeah, maybe let me take it. I, of course, have many discussions with some of our most loyal customers in the world, right? And they put a lot of efforts in the last 20, 30, some even 40 years with SAP. And of course, the world was very process-driven, right? When we invented ERP, so to say, which is our foundation of our success today, everything was about harmonization of processes. But over the term, we have seen, of course, tons of data collected, right? And now the world has just changed, and I believe the data, as you said, is probably the new oil. The challenge for everyone is, of course, what data do matter and what data do not matter, and how can we probably reduce complexity in getting the right data, right, driving us probably to new innovation. So this is what I hear, and I guess that's consistent up to the C-suite. I guess the C-suite understood we are good already in processing. Yes, you can always become better. There is new AI coming. You can always tweak things, right? But where we all see probably tremendous opportunities on the C-level is what can we do with all the intelligence we gained over decades, right? That is basically in the data.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps adding to that, so data was, I think, in the past just there for basic topics, and also customers, from my experience, used a lot of data redundancy in their processes, having then incorrect data in. So, but with more and more technology, with more and more, let's say, intelligent solutions, that is much better than years before, and therefore it's also now the right time to leverage these data and to make it tangible and to make the use to think the use out of that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually working with a client. They're running on SAP, and data goes up and up over month, and then they have to expand. They have to add additional main memory. So the question really always becomes, okay, too much data. So how can we transform? How would they be able to transform their business, with this baggage? Is there an easy way to go?
Yeah, I believe that's the challenge. We probably all see the opportunity in data, but nobody knows where is the right data and where is the intelligence in the data, and how can technology help us probably to find the meaningful data before we make decision what's relevant and what's probably not so relevant. I could even relate to our own challenge, right? We have now 50,000 customers roundabout, right? Many, as mentioned, long years with SAP in all segments, the largest enterprises in the world, down to mid-market, even smaller shops. And even in our company, we have the same. We have too much data. So relevance of data plays more and more a role. And I believe we would all agree we have technology capabilities today that can help us to cleanse the data in a way, or to make the data intelligent so that we can focus on the relevant investments on what we probably could do with data and how we could improve efficiency, gain new markets, get better customer experience, and not so much all data has the same relevance in potential outcome.
Yeah, would you see that we should archive data and move it out, or better?
Yeah.
Or what is a better usage scenario for that?
Yeah, this is of course an always ever discussion with customers, right? If we want to push them fast to the cloud, right? We see all the value in the cloud. We have shared infrastructure, we have better scale, we have better time to market, time to value. I guess everybody understands that. But then of course there's these tons of legacy. And yes, on some new innovations, sometimes you don't need all the data. You need the relevant data in your current year, maybe in your forecasted year, your planning, production, intelligence, all this is always relevant. But of course, just an example, I met a customer in the fashion industry, they still saying that sometimes we need to go back up to 10 years to just look at samples and see patterns, what could be the latest and greatest probably next year. So I feel, yes, you need archive, but you need to find a smart way to archive or to access to archives, because not all the archive data might be relevant for process efficiency now and in the future, but it is good to have an opportunity to at least search on the data, whether you can find patterns or anything that helps you in your business going forward. That's how I would see.
I had, Andreas, a customer event in Zurich the last days, more than 150 customers, where we had also different meetings about, let's say, which data is the right data to move to the cloud. So therefore, I think we do have really great partners and companies who have a great knowledge in only taking those, let's say, if it's, let's say, data for customers and materials and stuff like that. So only take those where you, for example, had in the last 1, 2, or 3 years, let's say, a lot of traction on, and then to make a data cleansing and check what was not needed or will not be needed, and then take into your new cloud solutions only that data which is relevant, and for sure have an opportunity to have an outside look on the data, that it's not lost, like Thomas said, where you have to give the chance that you see the data, but really take only those data out of that where you said that there's growing, which is really relevant for the business and especially for the future business. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned cloud, Thomas mentioned cloud, so the journey to the cloud, I mean, is, if we don't really manage the data, is this maybe a baggage or a bump in the road to a cloud, or what is your recommendation to go fast?
Yeah, of course, it depends, right? Like always, a little bit on the industry and what you want to achieve. So what I learned from CIOs that became many companies in the meanwhile, chief digital officers, so they're even more relevant than they were, driving innovation and digital change as technology leaders, basically as part of the executive team of the enterprise. But what I learned from them is this old way to take, so to say, a complete system and bring it to the cloud is sometimes just too complex, because we're all competing for fast return on investments. Management wants to see fast outcomes. So they tend to go process by process. And I would say basically the same with the data. Maybe you take the process where you feel, look, this gives us the best new outcome, the best innovation, the best efficiency gains. Because why should I touch a process that works maybe for 10 years, like 8 years, pretty efficient already? Yes, you can always tweak here and there, but there might be processes that really are relevant for you to stay competitive or even to gain. And I would say it's a little bit the same with the data. If you could go selective, of course, it is much more efficient and you can much faster see the returns. Not only that you can justify your investment to management, but I guess it is not only the executives, it is getting the backing of your complete employee base that these new process or the selective data is relevant for their work and supports their business.
Mm. So when you say, okay, selective, so I mean, this is very smart, I would say, selective. But, I'm more from the praxis, from the operational side. So when you say is, okay, I do business processes, maybe I take one and the old one still runs in the old system. So you have then two systems you have to integrate, or how should this work?
Yeah, of course, that's the challenge. I guess everybody wants to avoid to run double systems for many reasons, right? First, it's a cost issue. You need to probably, you're in an old legacy kind of environment where you need to pay hardware. You have storage there. You have, of course, licensing on all the old technology. And then you go slowly into a subscription, right? You want to avoid double cost. That's one reason. But I believe the other reason is you have, of course, a community who runs these processes in their day-to-day business. You don't want to confuse them. Of course, it would be a smart way that you can change the processes fast. And maybe only take those data to the relevant process that you need now and in the future, which is much easier than taking the whole legacy. But still, in case you need access to the legacy, you find a smart way. How can I go back to a process, my P&L statement or my report ABC 3 years ago, because it might be relevant for something you're going to plan in the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're changing gears a little bit. So when we start, I don't want to get too much technical. Okay, so when customers start a transformation, I mean, typically they cannot do this on their own, or maybe some can because they have some in-house skills. But my experience shows, okay, in the past 10 years, many companies, they outsourced many skills to service providers. So who would you think would be the typical or the right advisor to tell and to advise the customer what to do, how to do, what, developing a kind of a roadmap?
Yeah, in my view, of course, like we have been successful between customers, vendors of technology like SAP and our partners, I feel it's the same set, right, that should drive the transformation. Of course, it depends. Many customers see the change to the cloud as an opportunity, not only to change technology, that you have a smarter deployment or other maybe cost efficiency or CapEx versus OpEx. That's always an argument, but I believe it's a big opportunity. And this is where I see CIOs becoming digital officer, right? Because as you see now, new technology, probably you can innovate new business models. That's why I feel we should not underestimate that specialized consultants who have transformation skills could play a fundamental role. And then, of course, SAP, we have a good offering. This is what our team is doing, right? We'll listen very carefully to our customers. How can we help with basically 2 dimensions, a technical architecture? How do I come from ECC to S4 to cloud? What should I do with cloud first? What gives me the fastest returns? Do you have best practices? Do you have tools to support us? Do you recommend partners who have solutions for specific challenges in this journey, like you're offering with DMI? I feel this is where we play a big role. And then, of course, the second big stream is the commercial complexity, right? Because you're coming from a heavy legacy. A lot of investments did flow into building up the legacy environment, so to say. And now you're going into more flexible deployment with new business modeling, but still you need to work on a business case so that the investments are basically paying off. You get quick returns, and you can, of course, sell, so to say, the transition to your management, because in the end, you need to have the buy-in of all the executives that these transformation make business sense and create tangible, measurable outcomes.
Andreas, perhaps in addition, I think if you want to play Champions League in that digital transformation, I think it's important to have a professional project setup, which is coming really from the top. Like the top executive management is identifying that is the way where we want to go to, and then cascade it down. I also truly believe that the whole topic of a process-oriented approach, like Thomas said, is of highly importance. Checking your processes, not in typical old kind of style. We did that for the last 10, 15, 20 years. This is how we have to do it again, but just break down these in processes, order to cash, procure to pay, and think about how to use and how to be fit, make yourself fit and available for the future and the new business, and therefore use the data and analyze the data how as best as possible. Yeah.
Many ERP systems, they are still running on ECC. I mean, SAP, you say you have more than 50,000 on S4, but you have also not many still on the ECC. And then those customers, I know they use basically the ABAP programming language to adapt their kind of functionalities. So for those customers, is there an easy way to a clean core?
I would say first, we probably all agree, including our customers, we overdid maybe the flexibility of the old platforms, including ABAP, and just changed on the fly processes, adopted the solution, built our interfacing and so forth. But more and more, our system landscape get quite complex, right? A clean core is, of course, the baseline for fast adoption later. Whether you are in the cloud or not in the cloud doesn't matter. But if you're not having a clear standard, of course, always remodeling, so to say, your modifications is just a lot of efforts, right? Costly and slow. So yes, I believe a lot of things change. First, the technology today with RISE or with S4 is just a complete different thing, right? The core is bigger, it's more flexible, it's more agile, it's more open. So I believe many customers can benefit from tools we have and our partners that we can just analyze all the custom code they have. And sometimes they're really surprised how much we could already substitute with the latest technology stack we have. So some of the modifications in the old world must not be modifications in the new world, right? This is a big opportunity. So you have two basically values at the same time. You're cleaning your core and you get functionality that was custom back to standard, which of course is the baseline then for adopting. I guess the next big probably change is our BTP, our platform allows you still to do some modifications yourself or with partners or plug in even tools from partners, but in a more structured and controlled environment. That's how I would call it, right? So if we move the core forward then with RISE, all these things can still integrate because the integration layer is so much more standard, open, and structured than it probably was when you did custom code. Sometimes in the open space, sometimes you probably even did modify our core, which is, of course, now restricting you in fast adoption and change.
Yeah, so Thomas, you said it. So the business technology platform, I think it's really a structured approach, also bringing third-party topics in, manage that professionally, but keep the rest as clean as possible and ideally completely clean to have a quick possibility to make your updates and your changes. Yeah. I think that's absolutely the best strategy at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit, I love the message, clean core on the one hand side and BTP on the other side. So still need to see BTP at its full work and full strength. So if you look at coming back to the book, I mean, the Data Weaver is a title for the Chief Data Officer. So this is what I invented here because I personally think it's needed. So what is your opinion? Do you think the CDO, so the Chief Data Officer, has to have a place at the C-suite table?
Look, if we honestly all believe as executives that data is the new gold, why would not a leader in the data strategy sit on the executive team? I would completely agree, Andreas, that this is probably a future role as important as a CIO or Chief Digital Officer. because data might be the foundation of everything.
In my opinion, it accompanies also with the change management topic. So some years back, I think we were quite new, but you see that in universities and stuff like that, you can really study change management, business focus with change management, and that is also something we have to take the people into the change and have to, let's say, be very smart on how to transform these messages, how to bring people in that to get the buy-in. And you can make so many things wrong, but you can also make it right. And therefore, like change management, like data, I think these are the topics you really have to focus on. And why not with top management responsibility roles? Sure.
Yeah, very good. So Thomas, Stefan, thanks a lot for your insight here. It was a great conversation. So back to you, Tom.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this interesting discussion. And I fully agree on what has been said. You know, you need to have a clean core and you need to have super relevant data. And without good data, I think there is no artificial intelligence and no machine learning. You need really a clean core with super clean data. And I think from that perspective, I totally agree that whether it's in the C-suite or part of the executive team, as Thomas and Stefan said, has to be seen. But I think the data is the key for many things, in fact. So with that said, I just wanted to thank first and foremost our listeners from all over the world who joined in to listen to that interesting discussion. And of course, a big thank you to these distinguished experts here on the panel. Andreas, first and foremost, again, congratulations to the book, and Thomas and Stefan, the two senior executives from SAP, who give us some context, you know, on how can you go to the new promised land with S4. I also would like to say for all the listeners, if you would be interested to get a copy of the book, you can order the book exclusively either at Andreas's website, www.innovad.io, or directly on Amazon. And as promised, if you signed up with your email, you get a digital copy of the book today. With that being said, keep an eye for more cool stuff from Data Migration International. And thank you so much and so long. Thank you.
Tom, thanks a lot.
Thank you.